Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. In this video, we're going to be looking at a pastel technique. And I'm going to be doing a quick painting of a decorative hat on a bench. And I wanted to go ahead and show you the different kinds of pastels that you can use if you want to follow along traditionally. There's pastel pencils, there's chalk pencils, and then there's blenders and a cloth that you can also use with your chalk pastels. And you can use some graphite pencils if you want to go ahead and do a beginning sketch. And the app that I'm going to be using is Infinite Painter for Android, and it has some really good pastel brushes in it. And so here I'm making a quick sketch of the hat with some with the graphite pencils that are in Infinite Painter, and I wanted to go ahead and just kind of add the bench. But what I want to do in this painting is make a focal point of the hat, and then everything else around it be sort of indistinct and impressionistic like. And there's a really good painter named Harley Brown who's really famous, and he's done all kinds of celebrity portraits and things. And one of the things that he does is he will leave the edges of the painting indistinct and just focus on a few features sort of in the center and really refine those, and it makes a really neat look, and I really like how he does that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So I'm adding a little bit of indistinct green and purple and a little bit of pink to show the flowers and the bushes in the background, but I don't want to add a whole lot of detail to that. Also, the bench, I don't want the bench to be very detailed either. And then I'm going to go ahead and start on the hat, and I'm going to try and make the hat a little bit more detailed. So for the hat, I'm using an off-white color and sort of a hot pink, maybe a fuchsia color for the bow that goes around it. And right now, I'm not interested in making big details. I just want to go ahead and sort of smudge out the background. And I'm also going to leave the edges sort of ragged and in a vignette style. And so I'm just kind of smudging here. And you can use your blending stumps if you're following along traditionally. And then Infinite Painter has some really good blending brushes in it that you can use. And in fact, you tap on the blender figure, and then you can go ahead and add whatever kind of brush that you want to use to make it the blending brush. And so here I'm just kind of trying to add a little bit of some of the holes that are in the hat there, and adding some dark purple. But again, I'm not getting real detailed right now. I'm just sort of adding in the details and adding in the color and just making it kind of impressionistic looking right now. And so I'm working a little bit more on the brim, trying to refine it, because this is the part that I want to be refined, is the hat. And so I just want to work on it a little bit more, work on the ribbon around the hat just a little bit more, refine it, make it a little bit wider there on the edge. I'm just kind of working on the way it looks and trying to get the details right on it. And so I'm adding a little bit of some lighter pink and trying to add some more pink to make the bow that's on it. And then I wanted to add a little bit of some darker purple, maybe magenta color, to try to get the details of the bow. And this is where most of the detail work is going to be. I'm going to focus mainly on the bow and the middle of the hat for the detail work. And I'm just kind of smudging it in just like you would do with traditional pastel. And I'm using one of the blending brushes there and just trying to get that pastel look. And Infinite Painter is one of the programs that does pastel very nicely. And so I'm just kind of going back and forth between the pencils and the chalk pastel categories, and just trying to get sort of that look that they have for pastels. And I'm working on the hat again. I want to add a little bit more highlight to the top of the hat and just kind of get sort of a more detail on the bow right there. And so I'm using a bit of a lighter purple and a light pink color, and then some dark. I'm just going back and forth between that, just trying to build up a few layers. And if you're working traditionally, you can layer pastels up to a point. You have to, it depends on the kind of paper that you have, but if you get sort of a sandpapery surface, you can really add a lot of layers to your pastels. And so that's what I'm kind of trying to get this look in Infinite Painter here. And I would recommend working with traditional materials and working digitally, because when you work with the traditional materials, then you can tell how it's supposed to look digitally, and then you can get that look using digital painting. And here I'm just kind of adding a little bit of shadow to the brim, darkening it with some purple color, and then I'm going into the background and smudging, and I'm not leaving big details in the background. I just want it to look kind of rough and smudged. You can even leave pastel strokes if you want to make it look kind of unfinished on the edges, and Harley Brown does this a lot, and I really just like that look. It looks really interesting to me. And so here I'm adding a little bit more detail to the flowers, but I don't want them to be really big detail. I'm just adding more colors, trying to get sort of an impression of the flowers in the background. And also I'm adding a little bit more highlights to the leaves. And again, I'm not looking to have a big detailed look on these leaves. I just want the impression that there's some leaves and the sunlight is hitting them. And so I'm smudging them out after I draw in the lines and just trying to make it look really impressionistic looking. Also with the bench as well. I don't want the bench to take away from the hat. I want the bench to be just kind of a indication that it's there, but I don't want it to be the focal point. And so I'm just kind of adding a little bit more to the edge of the hat, darkening it a little bit, refining it a little bit so that you can see what it looks like, and just trying to get it kind of the shape fixed on it. And then I wanted to add back some of the little holes that are in the hat, because it's a straw hat, so we want to kind of get that look there. So this is the end of part 1 of the hat in pastel. And in part 2, I'm just going to put the final touches on it and just make it look a little bit more refined and a little bit more detailed in the middle. So thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to see the rest of the videos, then hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you later.